It's awkward.
Are we starting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Ripple again. So we just Avatar, self-driving electric car, SSRI, Prince and the Queen die, World Trade, second plane, what else do I have to say? We didn't start the fire, it was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire, no we didn't light it, but we're trying to fight it. Cause you'll barely make a dent, giving 99%. Good morning, First Unitarian. Are we awake? Are we pumped? Do our legs hurt from marching yesterday? Yes. My name is Kimberly Urish, and I am the chair of the Reproductive Justice Initiative. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whether you carry joy or sorrow in your heart, you are welcome here. All people of goodwill are warmly invited to join us on this great journey of the mind, the heart, and the spirit. If this is your first time with us today, please let the offering basket pass you by. When it comes around, your presence is gift enough. This is a fifth Sunday, which is sort of special. And as such, because 2 Sundays a month, we donate our offering to a local nonprofit. As such, all cash checks will be donated in full unless designated otherwise. We will learn about the organization that you're giving to later in the service. We also hope you'll join us for coffee and conversation in the community room after the service. We'd love to get to know you and answer any questions. During the coffee hour, please visit the welcome table and the activities area to learn about how you can get further involved. You can also learn about us on the congregation's website, fusden.org. You can also find First Announce on the website, our weekly email blast that has information about events and activities at the church. So today's service is being organized and brought to you by the Reproductive Justice Committee. We are one of many social justice initiatives that are part of the Social Justice Council. And once a year for the last now 5 years, we have organized the service. Some of our other social justice initiatives have also organized services before, but this one is kind of special. Today we're going to have special guests from Cobalt and Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains to share some reflections. We welcome you to connect with these partners in the community room after the service if you have additional questions for them. I also want to promote that at the book table we have a special book called State Champ. And we have some free copies as supplies last. We're going to have a book club chat on May 7th. So get your book now and start reading it. 17th. So sorry, May 17th. Thank you, Cynthia. So thank you everyone for attending today. A couple little notes. For the next hour, please silence your cell phones and electronic devices. We also have one announcement from the Safety Committee from Laura Mueller. Where are you, Laura? There she is.
Bonus. And I don't know where Jeffrey is. We're looking for Jeffrey Ball. I don't see him yet. Okay, we are members of the Safety Committee here at FUSD. We've been working for more than a year to put together a plan to help keep us, there you are, to help keep us safe in case of an emergency. Our emergency responders will have an identifying yellow sticker on their badges. Kind of a neon yellow. And those with medical training will also have an additional red cross on their badges. And the ushers will usually be the ones who will assist someone needing help. Today at the end of the service, we'll be having a fire drill. There will be no alarms, and it will not be timed like when you were in school. The purpose of this drill is simply so that everyone knows what to do and where to go if there ever would be a fire in the building. Ellery will make a short announcement. She will blow a whistle, and then we will all leave the building. You will use whichever door is closest or handiest to you. If you're closer to the main doors, exit there. If you're closer to the side door, go out that way. In a real fire, you would leave your belongings in the church and exit the building and go across the street to the parking lot down there. But today, just exit the building, stay on the sidewalk, make room for others leaving the building. If you have mobility issues or need assistance, raise your hand, and an usher or an ERT member will help to keep you safe as we all exit. Once outside, please wait for Ellery to give the all clear using a whistle. When it's safe, we can all come back in and join coffee hour. Okay? Good.
All right, y'all got that? We're going to practice this. We're going to do a very good job. All right, so now I'd like you guys to take a few minutes to greet and welcome those that are around you.
Good morning, First Unitarian. So glad you're here. I have two quick invitations for this week. First, this Wednesday, April 1st, we will have our monthly resonance service. This is a contemplative worship service, 6 p.m., led by me, and then followed by a potluck supper at 6:30 here in the sanctuary. Hope to see you there. And then this Saturday, we have our final Capitol Hill Concerts show, Wild Earth Ensemble. This is going to be amazing. We'll have violin, nickel harpa, piano, sitar, hammer dulcimer, tabla drums. This is a phenomenal group, and I hope you can come this Saturday at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Good morning, First Unitarian. My name is Erica Trissler. I've been on the music team here now for about 11 years, and I am here, if I'm up here, I'm usually up here to talk to you about theater. So here we go. Back in 2019, 2020, a group of us kids, us millennial kids at this theater, at this church, realized that we have a theater background. And so we put together a community theater troupe in 2020, and it was small and mighty, and it was no barrier to access. It was all experiences, all ages, no experience necessary. We did that, and all the proceeds, after months of hard work and doing music theater and teaching and building community, we made about $4,000 for this church, and that was in March of 2020. We had good momentum, and we had people showing up from the community outside and interested in our congregation. Unfortunately, the COVID lockdown happened a week after we closed, so we didn't get to build that momentum that we had going in 2020. So it's taken us this long to finally get momentum back. So let's bring theater back, let's bring play, let's bring joy, let's bring healing, let's bring community. We're selling tickets. Come find us in the community room after service, okay? We'll tell you all about the shows. Shows on April 17th and 18th, okay? Come find us. We'll have ticket information during coffee hour. Thank you.
Forgiveness.
After that rousing rendition, please join us in singing our welcome song. We are many, we are one. The light of the world is within you. Sacred and worthy is your soul. A place has been made for you. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Tammy Carpenter, and I'm speaking about reproductive justice for a short time. 4 years ago, Reverend Mike saw the need to begin a reproductive justice project here at First Unitarian. The U.S. Supreme Court had just overturned Roe versus Wade, and reproductive justice began its work on protecting access to abortion in the Colorado State Constitution. Kimberly bravely became the reproductive justice chairperson and has led this cause for 4 years. Kimberly! We applaud her leadership and direction. In honor of Kimberly, we have made a $1,000 donation to Plan International, the nonprofit lucky enough to have her. Thanks for all you have done for reproductive justice, Kimberly.
Thank you, Tammy. And now, what you've all been waiting for, the call to worship. I'll be reading a poem by Dr. Aliye Runyon. She is an OBGYN and abortion provider practicing in White Plains, New York, and serves as the American Medical Student Association's reproductive health strategist. The name of the poem is Why Can't It Just Be Okay? Why can't it just be okay? Routine, mundane, another medical procedure that we accept, can sometimes be necessary, life-saving, difficult, but not always. Not every end to a pregnancy is sad. Some pregnancies end in joyous birth. Some end with grief for what could have been. Some end with a sigh of relief. Freedom to be a parent or not to be. Freedom to choose one's path in life. Abortion is an act of love. Abortion is common, safe, should not be an undue burden to access. Why can't it just be okay? The story of abortion is made to be black and white, good versus evil, when it is simply a part of life, part of a person's reproductive journey, part of being a human. Abortion is an act of love. Why can't it just be okay?
So I also sing here, but I feel like I'm going to start crying because I didn't know they were going to make that donation, and that's really important to me. Thank you, guys. For this hymn, if you would rise, if you're willing and able, and join me. This is going to be How Could Anyone in the blue teal hymnal, number 1053. And the words will also be up on the screen.
Good morning. My name is Peter Swanson. I serve on the Giving and Action Committee, your Giving and Action Committee, and I'm also on the Reproductive Justice Task Force. I'm sorry, committee. I keep forgetting what they're called. Here at First Unitarian. As you may know, twice a month, as Kimberly noted earlier, we bring you an opportunity to support nonprofits in our community whose mission and work is compatible with our own. Unless indicated otherwise, all donations to the basket today or through Breeze online will go to our chosen organization. The QR code you'll find in your order of service, or it'll show up there probably. Today, I'm pleased to bring you Rocky Mountain Victim Center, here to share some of their story. A board member, 10 years, is Laura Wolf.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. And I'm keeping my phone out because I take time very seriously, and I know I have 3 minutes. I've served on the Rocky Mountain Victim Law Center board for 10 years now. I'm the immediate past chair of the board. I'm about to term out in time, but I'm here just to tell you a little bit about the nonprofit and what we do. So our mission is to serve crime victims throughout the state, not only by providing free legal services, but also advocacy and education to ensure their safety, their stability, and to help them get justice. That means that not only do we provide direct legal representation to crime victims, that's also my daughter over there, but that means not only do we provide direct legal representation to crime victims all across the state, we provided that representation to just shy of 3,000 people last year, not only in the metro area, but truly all across the state. But also it includes things like going to the Capitol, working on legislation to help crime victims throughout. And sorry, I use that term. I know some folks prefer the term survivors. There's a Victims' Rights Act in Colorado, so that's why that term gets used a lot. But to help victims and survivors have better legislation, policy, and laws in their favor, even those that we can't provide direct representation to. In addition to that, we provide trainings all across the state, not only obviously for the people who work at Rocky Mountain Victim Law Center, but for law enforcement, for lawyers, for advocates who are social workers, things like that, so they understand both about the rights that crime victims have, but also how to provide trauma-informed legal services and trauma-informed advocacy, which is really important. I'd say personally, so I'm a civil rights attorney in my private practice. I have my own law firm, and I provide these services to my own clients as well. And the biggest thing I'd say that we focus on is just providing as much agency as possible. The process really takes a lot of agency away from crime victims. It's not just the crime that was committed that they are now suffering from and having to deal with in their day-to-day life, but the process itself is actually quite it's not, in my view, very victim forward. And so we try to really give people that voice, and we understand that every person, every crime victim has a different experience, and they want to approach their cases and their rights differently. And the last thing I'll say is that it's not focused solely on the criminal process. You know, these things have impacts in people's lives, like their housing, their education. I work with a lot of people, you know, K-12 students who have been victims of, usually these are sexual crimes primarily, you know, in their employment. So it really permeates throughout. And so the work that we do, the work that Rocky Mountain Victim Law Center does, is to also try to help and bridge the gap for all of those areas of folks' lives. And so they do that in part by having both legal services and social workers work on all their cases. I'm right at 3 minutes, so I will be in the back, and if you want to see me or my daughter at any point, please come and say hi. Thank you.
The red lights in a hurry to get to nowhere in a white Beretta. Go to Memphis in the morning to it over with in a couple days, you would feel a lot better.
Was raised in the church,
washed in the blood, we all were saved before we even left home. If his love is unconditional, why do I feel so miserable? Why are you digging your nails in the styrofoam? It was so many years ago, oh, and I just didn't know. But that ain't no excuse. Being who you are, I thank you and I'm sorry for what you went through. I was sitting at a red light, listening to Sunbolt. May the wind take your troubles away. Could have been somebody's father. I couldn't boil a pot of water. I was 19 years old in 1990. Raised in the church, washed in the blood, we all were saved before we even left home. I thank God you weren't brought up like me, with all that shame and certainty. And I'm sorry you had to go in that room alone. It was so many years ago, oh, and I just didn't know. But that ain't no excuse for being who you are. I thank you and I'm sorry for what I put you through. To chase for what you chose to do. We were running through the red lights in a hurry to get to nowhere in a white Beretta.
Your gifts freely given, gratefully received. Thank you for all of your support of our congregation and our partner organizations doing such good work out in the world. I'm Michael DeSantis. I use they, them pronouns. I'm non-binary, and I'm also one of the ministers here at First Unitarian. More on that in a moment. As I've been getting questions about that. But while I'm in a mood of gratitude and thanks, I want to thank some people who also give their time and their talents and their energy to our congregation. I want to thank, first of all, Carol Ruckel, who does a lot to keep our building the way it is. Carol chairs our property management committee. She also is the person who puts our sermon titles out on the marquee every month, and also does some wrangling sometimes when some of us don't get our sermon titles in as early as maybe would be helpful for that. I also want to thank the Leadership Development Committee and especially its chair, Tess Derringer. I think their Derringers are traveling today, but we have a full slate of nominees for next year. So we have a full slate of nominees for next year for elected positions, and that took an immense amount of work. I think they talked to over 100 of you all in this congregation, and Tess really was the force behind that. So my thanks to Tess and the whole LDC. Last piece of thanks. As you all know, our senior minister, Reverend Mike Moran, is coming back next Sunday. So I have been getting lots of questions about what is going to happen to me, and I will say that in the short term, I will still be here. I will be here through May 31st when we elect that slate of nominees at the congregational meeting. So I will still be around, but I do want to thank you all for the way that you have supported me over these last 5 months as I've done the sabbatical coverage here, for the ways that you have put up with my limitations and you have given feedback on my shortcomings and mistakes, the way that you have affirmed the parts of my ministry that are gracious and that have given you life. Thank you all so much. It has really been so appreciated as I moved into this role as a new minister. Thank you. And before we move into our time of prayer and meditation, I just want to name, there's a lot going on in the world. And so I suspect that some of us are coming here today struggling because that's what happens when the world is really painful and we are really compassionate and empathetic people. So I just want to give you permission to let this time be whatever you need it to be. Let this time be what you need it to be. It doesn't need to be anything in particular. It could be holy outrage. It could be a sacred remembering of what's good in the world. It could just be a time to zone out. Whatever you need this time to be, let it be that. And so I invite you now to join me in coming into this time, maybe grounding yourself a little bit in a way that feels right for you. That might mean just looking around, checking out the space, seeing if you can trust it. It might mean feeling the chair or the ground underneath you, or just swaying gently back and forth a little bit. Good people of First Unitarian, great mystery of the universe, there is so much to pray for today. Here in our community, we mourn with and we hold in our hearts and in our prayers member Kristen Gray, whose father died last week after living with Alzheimer's for some time. Kristen, we send you and your whole family our love and our care. And of course, today we continue to lament and to denounce our nation's war with and on Iran. A war that seems to be expanding with threats for escalation and no discernible end in sight. We pray too for the people of Lebanon, now under siege by Israel, our nation's ally in invading Iran. On this day, too, when we are reflecting on reproductive justice, we hold in our prayers all those suffering from injustices related to reproductive access and issues. We hold all the women and the femmes and the survivors who continue to feel pain as the news about the Epstein files comes out and as it lays bare what they have always known about how deeply rooted misogyny and violence against women and girls is in our dominant and our dominating culture. We pray today for birthing people living in states that are ripping away the ability of people to control their own bodies and destinies. We pray for those in places like Georgia, where news broke this week of a woman charged with murder, yes, murder, for having a medication-induced abortion. We pray too for trans men and non-binary and gender expansive birthing folks who are also under attack because of their gender identity and whose experiences of pregnancy and birth are often already emotionally complicated. Thinking about all these things happening in our world, folks, I can't help but notice some themes. Themes of violent forms of masculinity and themes of power used to control others. And I remember that our faith, Unitarian Universalism, it has a long history of affirming that just power comes from love and that power must be used for love. So, dear ones, I pray today that all of us are able to recognize what kinds of power we have, both individually and collectively, and to use that power in the service of love. And I pray that all of us, that all of you feel that love unconditionally from yourselves and your neighbors and whatever divine power you understand there to be. May you know that it can just be okay. May all of this be so. And amen.
Wouldn't it be nice if we had an amendment to give civil rights to women? To once and for all just really lay it down from the point of view of women. I know what you're thinking. Well, that's just redundant. Chicks got it good now. They can almost be president. But it's worker against worker, time and time again, 'cause the rich use certain issues as a tool. And when I say we need the ERA, it ain't 'cause I'm a fool. It's 'cause without it, nobody can get away with anything cool. And you don't have to go far, just like over to Canada, to feel a heightened sense of live and let live. What is it about Americans, like so many pit bulls, trained to attack and to never give? We gotta put down abortion, put it down in the books for good, as central to the civil rights of women. Make diversity legal, make it finally understood through the civil rights of women. And if you don't like abortion, don't have an abortion, and teach your children how they can avoid them. But don't treat all women like they are your children. Compassion has many faces and many names. And if men can kill and be decorated instead of blamed, then a woman called upon to mother can choose to refrain. And contrary to eons of old-time religion, your body is your only true dominion. Nature is not here to serve you or to preserve you. That's just some preacher man's old-time opinion. Life is sacred, and life is also profane. A woman's life, it must be hers to name. Let an amendment put this brutal game to rest. Trust, women will still take you to their breast. Trust, women will always do their best. Trust, our differences make us stronger, not less. Structure shall be free. We'll have the right to civil union with equal rights and equal protection. Intolerance finally ruined. And then there's the kids' rights. They'll naturally be on board. The funnel through which women's lives are poured. Our family is so big, and we're all so very small. Let a web of relationship be laid over it all, over the strata of power piled up to the sky, over the illusion of autonomy on which it relies, over any absolute that nature does not supply. Put away the knives. This amendment shall deliver from bondage midwives.
Thank you, Erica and Leah. So, to share some reflections with us today, I want to introduce Danny Newsom, Director of Strategic Partnerships at Cobalt, and Kathia Garcia, Public Affairs Manager of Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains. Our guests are going to share some reflections around policy and personal stories from clinicians and patients.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I am so glad to be back here. It is always amazing. The way to my soul is through food and music, and the music has just been incredible. The message so spot on, so thank you. All right, I'm Danny, and I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships from Cobalt. And Cobalt's been in Colorado since 1967. Real quickly, our work. I'm doing part of it. We do a lot of outreach and education, and I love it when I get to go to First Unitarian on 14th and Lafayette. It's incredible. In fact, I'm going to start going. I understand that we're going to have two services, 9:15 and 11. So, yes, you will see me. So there's outreach and education. We have our Cobalt Abortion Fund, which has been around under various names, and I'm sure you all are quite aware of that. Since 1984, I'll get more to the Abortion Fund later. And of course, we have our policy and political work. And we have been very, very, very busy with policy and political work since our inception in 1967, but just looking at the last 6 years, 2020 to 2026, it has been incredible. So, and I would be remiss if I just talked about Cobalt. I need to talk about the former Colorado Reproductive Health, Justice, and Rights Committee. There were 7 members, including Rocky Mountain Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains. And so this coalition from 2014 to 2020 led the campaign to defeat 4 anti-abortion ballot measures. 4. The last one was in 2020. That was the no on Proposition 115 campaign that would have arbitrarily banned abortion at 22 weeks. And more people voted against that bill than voted for Joe Biden. So that tells you something about Colorado. You know, abortion rights mean something here. And then in 2022, in April, 2 or 3 months before the Supreme Court's decision overruling Roe versus Wade, the Reproductive Health, Justice, and Rights Committee was again at it with our allies in the Colorado State Legislature. They passed the Reproductive Health Equity Act. Again, the coalition wrote that, but our allies in the state legislature passed it. That was so important, statutorily, very, very important. And then in 2023, the Safe Access to Protective Health Care legislation, that was a complicated package. Cobalt took the SHIELD law that protects the privacy and licenses of abortion care providers and gender-affirming care providers, and the privacy of patients, at least while they're in Colorado, which is very, very, very important. And also, hundreds, really countless numbers of anti-abortion legislative bills have been defeated in the Colorado State Legislature since 2014. And that doesn't just happen. It happens because you have organizations like Cobalt and Planned Parenthood who are lobbying. They are there they're in the trenches. Then lastly, just 2 years ago, 2024, Amendment 79, Cobalt and Color, the Colorado Organization of Latina Opportunity and Reproductive Justice, led the campaign to get abortion rights enshrined in the Colorado Constitution. They are enshrined in the Colorado Constitution, but also, it's not just rights, it's access, because a right without access is bull, right? So, and because I'm in a sanctuary, I didn't add the other syllable. But, so, the right to use public health insurance for abortion care. That was also in the Colorado Constitution. And it's important to know, let's go full circle, that provision repealed the 1984 ban, Colorado ban, on the use of public health care for abortion care, which is why the It's now the Cobalt Abortion Fund, but it didn't start out that way. And I think you know the part that the Universalist Church played, the founding part in the first Freedom Fund. So it's full circle. Yay, yay, yay. All right. So that's the good news. We do have some looming threats. At the federal level and state level too, not so much in Colorado, but in abortion-hostile states, and that's mifepristone. It is one of 2 pills that is used in the medication abortion protocol. And mifepristone, as of 2023, accounted for 63% of all known abortions. I mean, there are abortions we don't know about, but that's incredible, right? And so there have been constant attacks in federal court, and in 2024, shock, but let's not raise our voices too high in hosannas. The U.S. Supreme Court rejected a lawsuit that had sought to roll back access to mifepristone. Okay, so the good news is the court rejected it. It said, okay, you people who brought this suit, you don't have standing. You don't have the legal right. You don't have skin in this game. Okay, but they left open the merits. Okay, still attacking the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration's original approval and subsequent decisions to increase access to mifepristone. So that hangs over us. And then in Colorado, access, notwithstanding the fact that now we have people in Colorado can use public health care, public health insurance for abortion care, there's still a problem with access, particularly in our rural areas and where you have hospitals closing and where you have way more fake abortion clinics than you actually have abortion, real life, legitimate abortion centers. So we still have a problem with access, and we have a lot of privacy issues. And this is odd because some of them are coming from our allies. But when it comes to privacy and what we're experiencing now in the United States, in Colorado, things are so much better, but we have people who are coming here who can't get abortion care in their home states, and their privacy is important. And, anything from flock cameras or other kinds of devices can be used to track them. And so we have to remain ever vigilant. So our policy and political people are constantly at the state legislature. Lastly, I want to get back to the Cobalt Abortion Fund. Exploding demand. In 2021, total expenditures for the Cobalt Abortion Fund, $2,001. Total expenditures. In 2025, $2.4 million. Those numbers are stark, and they say so much. What they may not say, and I hope that Kathia will talk about, is the stress on providers, and we have people actually moving here now because they cannot practice OBGYN in their states. But just think about that, from $2,001 to $2.4 million. Okay, so our support, our political support, our financial support, our emotional support, our spiritual support is still needed. Although Colorado is a darn good place on abortion, we still need help. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kathia Garcia. I use she, her, ella pronouns. I am Colorado's Public Affairs Manager for Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains. Thank you. And if you're wondering why I'm not super nervous that there's so many people staring at me as I'm talking, is because I'm also a theater kid, and so I can handle myself in front of a crowd. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about my role. So I live in northern Colorado, where I oversee our political and our organizing efforts across the state, but I also work with our providers every day. And I am not a provider, and the reason why I am here today is because it's not safe for our providers to take speaking engagements. So I want you to really think about that, right? It's like, why is an abortion provider not able to share their name publicly, the organization that they work with publicly, right? It's because of safety, and dentists don't meet this problem, right? Like it's very unique to reproductive health care. But yeah, so at PPRM, we care for more than 50,000 people every year across Colorado, New Mexico, and Wyoming. And when I say care, I mean like whole person, compassionate support, from birth control to cancer screenings to abortion care and gender-affirming hormone therapy. We meet people with dignity, without judgment, and most importantly, without barriers. As we know, the landscape for providing care has changed dramatically over the past 5 years, right? We've navigated a global pandemic, the fall of Roe, escalating political attacks. You name it, it's happening here. And the fall of Roe, after that, the uncertainty of an increasingly volatile presidential administration, right? So while we often talk about rhetoric and politics and policy and all that stuff, I really want to share with you a little bit about the people that are impacted by policy decisions, the people that are impacted by care deserts and by abortion bans. So, for example, we had a young woman who, right after Roe was overturned, drove to us from Texas for 17 hours straight to get an abortion. And she left her cell phone at home because she was afraid that she would be tracked. She told no one where she was going. She had never been out of state before. And I want you to picture that for a minute. How long or what distance do you feel comfortable driving without a map and without your phone? I couldn't even get here without my Google Maps, right? Like that's the reality. People are afraid to bring their phones with them to get access to care. And then we had another patient who came from Colorado with her mom, and neither of them, came to Colorado, sorry, and neither of them had ever been on a plane before. And when she was able to meet with a doctor at Planned Parenthood and finally heard the full range of options that were available to her, she made a decision that surprised even herself. She chose to continue her pregnancy. And she just needed the space and information, the full spectrum of options without stigma, right? To be able to make the decision that worked best for her. And that is what compassionate care looks like. That is what dignity looks like for folks. And the reality is that this is what patients are continuing to live with, right? We can't become complacent. We've seen maternal mortality double in states with abortion bans. People with pregnancy complications are being told to wait until their lives are on the line. 3 women have already been arrested for having a miscarriage. This is not normal. And in many ways, Colorado has been a refuge, but we've also carried the weight of caring for thousands of patients forced to flee their home states. Since Roe fell, we've supported over 22,000 out-of-state patients. I'm going to pause for a second and say that number again. 22,000 patients from out of state in less than 4 years. And the reality is that our team sees this every day under this administration because healthcare doesn't happen in a vacuum. Our staff have become experts at supporting patients through the intersections of multiple access barriers, economic insecurity, language barriers, immigration concerns, stigma, and fear. We have patients who tell us they cannot afford both groceries and a doctor's appointment in the same month. We have patients who skip care because ICE activity in their neighborhood has increased and they're afraid to leave their home. And these crises, they layer on top of each other, right? So they force members of our community to make impossible choices about their care. And no one should have to think about this, right? And as we know, Planned Parenthood continues to be at the crosshairs of this administration. On top of these barriers, we were directly targeted last summer. Congress defunded Planned Parenthood. And overnight, hundreds of thousands of Medicaid patients were not able to come to our health centers anymore. More than 10,000 Coloradans on Medicaid who rely on Planned Parenthood for life-saving reproductive and sexual health care suddenly couldn't see their providers, like overnight. On the 4th of July, our staff had to call almost 1,000 patients and tell them that their appointments were canceled. And so for those people who answered the phone, that was devastating. Now, can you imagine the people that were enjoying barbecues with their families and didn't pick up the phone and showed up to their appointments on the 5th only to be told that because of their Medicaid status, we were not able to provide them care? It was devastating. It was traumatizing to our community, to our providers, and to our patients. And on top, not on top of that, I'm done piling bad news on y'all, right? I brought you down, so now I'm gonna bring you back up. This is where our story shifts, because our opponents consistently underestimate our ability to organize and our ability to fight the things that we know are wrong. And so together with our Colorado legislators, we were able to call for a special session where we were able to be reinstated into our Medicaid program. In 3 days, let's give that a minute. In just 3 days, we mobilized over 150 volunteers to come to the Capitol and testify in support of Planned Parenthood being reinstated into our Medicaid program. Colorado was the first state to seek a legislative action to return care to our patients, and now is only one of 11 states where Medicaid patients are able to have care turned back on at Planned Parenthood. So that's really great. Colorado continues to have just a gold star in expanding access. And I just shared with you, we're also having to become almost like a reproductive access island, right? And so it's imperative for us to not only continue to protect care, but also continue to expand it. And that's something that at Planned Parenthood we're focusing on doing now. So this past year, in addition to expanding telehealth option for our rural patients and opening a new health center in South Denver, we completed a pilot program for behavioral health services that was wildly successful and will be offered at a Denver health center this summer. And we are now offering gender-affirming care almost every location in Colorado. So this means that our patients can access life-changing care that is close to their home, right? Without unnecessary barriers, without having to worry about how to get to their appointment. And this is a meaningful, tangible step towards meeting the needs of our communities. And so finally, we're also growing in ways that meet people where they are. Our VIDA program, which stands for Voices for Inclusion, Dignity, and Autonomy, offers culturally relevant Spanish language health education and civic engagement. It helps families navigate insurance, understand their options, and step into advocacy spaces that have been historically excluded from. So for many Latina families, VIDA is the bridge that makes care possible. And I want to close by saying this. None of this happens alone. Every expansion of care, every patient supported, every barrier removed is powered by people who decided to show up. So if you're sitting here today wondering how you fit into this work, I promise you that there is a place for you, whether that's volunteering, making a call, talking to a neighbor, supporting advocacy efforts, or simply sharing accurate information. Your involvement matters more than you might realize. This movement is built on people choosing care over fear, compassion over complacency. And if you're interested in getting involved, we would love to walk alongside you. And together we can create a future that is not only great for us, but also for future Coloradans and Americans. Thank you so much.
Wow, that's kind of a hard act to follow, but I want to thank you both so much for sharing those reflections. I have a little postlude, which some of you know if you're on the committee or on the board, but we're going to be sunsetting our Reproductive Justice Initiative under the Social Justice Council at the end of this fiscal year. There are a lot of reasons for this. I also think, just as a member of this congregation, my personal perspective is that social justice initiatives come and go, and I keep coming back to to everything, turn, turn, turn. At this time, the season for reproductive justice is ending. There's an organized process for becoming a social justice initiative that involves naming leaders, 2 or 3 leaders have to be on the application. You have to request and identify a budget that you're going to spend on the projects you're going to do. You have to identify local partners and activities. I think there should be a similar process for kind of offboarding a project, but at this time I see it as a place to celebrate, a time to take a moment and acknowledge. I loved how you said gold star. I do think Colorado is just an excellent place to live for this, as well as many other reasons. But I want to share just a real brief few accomplishments, and you may have an inclination to clap after each of these, but I ask you that we do not have time for that, and then wait until the end. We have put on 5, including today's social justice services with speakers and music and stories and inspiration. See, I knew you wanted to clap. I've had 3 women come up to me, I'm sure there are more, and say that was the first service that they came to, and it inspired them to come back and to join this church. As part of the services, we've helped collect thousands of dollars for reproductive justice nonprofits. Those include Planned Parenthood, Cobalt, Calor, Doula Project, With Gloria, Elephant Circle, League of Women Voters, and Wellspring Health Access. We've organized and held 2 letter writing parties that helped get reproductive justice candidates elected. The biggest push, obviously, was the Abortion Ballot Initiative, which passed. By my count, we had 11 people from this congregation, I think there might be more, that were trained to gather signatures on the initiative. Our members organized half a dozen events to get signatures as well as promote and pass that initiative. So that was our big accomplishment. But we also worked with Side of Love and You the Vote, which are both part of UUA. We held a successful event right here with 65 attendees, along with Colorado author Pam Houston, when she brought her book to be published. It's called Without Exception, Reclaiming Abortion, Personhood, and Freedom. From March 2023 to March 2026, Jane Ashley hosted her film series, including 7 movies. It started with Women Talking and concluded 2 weeks ago, with Juno. We've engaged almost 92 congregants in some way through this initiative. I especially want to thank about 16 people who've been at almost every meeting and have helped tremendously in keeping me going. Please stand as I say your name in alphabetical order. Cynthia Swanson, Delisa Johnson, Evelyn Hansen, Jane Ashley, Jane James, Jeanette Bausch, Joyce Bennett, Julie Myers, Marilee Bowe, Martha Gray, Peggy Ulrich Nims, Peter Swanson, Richard Woodruff, Sheila Hedgie, Tammy Carpenter, Tyler Watlington. If any of you also are in the room and have participated in some reproductive justice, could you please stand and we will acknowledge you. We have some backup dancers for this song.
Who can cause me pain or raise my fear, 'cause I got only You say you look funny, I say you're a star. I say you're whatever you think you are. Believe players fall in line. Believe that they'll say, she's so pretty, he is so fine. Aww. It ain't no man that can save me. There ain't no man can enslave me. Ain't no man, a man that can change the shape my soul is in. Ain't nobody here who can cause me pain or raise my fear, 'cause I got only love to share. If you're looking for truth on proof, you'll find it there. You gotta go somewhere, ain't that true? Not a lot of time for me and you. Got a whole lot of reasons to be mad, let's not pick one. I live in a room at the top of the stairs. Got my windows wide open, but nobody cares. I got no choice but to get right up when the sun comes through. There ain't no man who can save me. There ain't no man can enslave me. There ain't no man, a man who can change the shape my soul is in. There ain't nobody here who can cause me pain or raise my fear, 'cause I got only love to share. If you're looking for truth on proof, you'll find it there. If you're looking for truth on proof, you'll find it there. If you're looking for truth on proof, you'll find it.
Thank you, Kimberly. We love you.
Please stand and join us in body or spirit as we sing our affirmation. Find all the differences, and beneath our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one, binds us forever together throughout all time, through life and death, and the space between the stars, throughout all time, life and death, and the space between the stars.
Folks, can we give, since this is their last Sunday service, can we give one more round of applause to the Reproductive Justice Project? And can we hear it for the force of nature that is Kimberly, that has been driving this project? One piece of housekeeping, since we forgot to mention it, next week, Reverend Mike will be back, but he will be leading services at 9:15 and at 11. So if you come at 10:30, you will either be late or early, but there will be coffee hour at that point. So join us next week, 9:15 and 11, to welcome Reverend Mike back for Easter. And as we go forth, may we remember that we never do this work alone, that our differences make us stronger, not less. So may we honor the dignity of all persons, and may we continue the fight until all women and birthing folks are guaranteed rights to abortion access, and more broadly, to self-determination. And as we go forth, and as we extinguish the flame of our chalice, this fire of commitment,